Good morning, Year 8. I'm sure you're eagerly anticipating the news about what electives you've been allocated for Year 9 for 2021, and you'll find that information out shortly. I just need to go through some important information with you to begin with. So have all of you received all of the preferences? Unfortunately, not all students will get all of their choices for next year for your electives. And the reason is that not all courses had enough student interest to run classes, so I'll let you know which courses we are not running next year. And some subjects may have only had one class running, and your elective choices that you really wanted may have ended up on the same line. In that case, you'll be allocated the elective that you put as your highest preference. So if you wanted music and drama, for example, and they end up running at the same time, if you put music first as your first preference and then drama second, you'll be allocated music. The only subject that we're not running next year because there wasn't enough student interest is elective geography. And I apologise to those students who really wanted to do that course. So how are you going to find out what electives you're doing next year? At the end of this presentation, your pastoral teachers will hand out what we call your student counselling report. On that report, it states the electives that you've been allocated for Year 9, and I'll show you in a moment what those reports look like. Before that though, just a reminder, how many electives should you have? You should all be doing 2 electives next year, and we talk about courses as having a unit value, and each of those electives has 2 units. So in total, you should have 4 units of electives next year, and that information is printed on your counselling report. So this is what a counselling report looks like. At the top, it'll have your name, and then to the left-hand side of the page, it will have whether you got all of your requested 4 units, and it'll make a reference to any course that you didn't get. So Fortunately, for this particular student here, it makes reference to the fact that they didn't get elective geography because we're not running that. We didn't get enough interest from your year group. So this student has been given preference 1 instead of elective geography. Now, if you want to make further changes to your electives for next year, this is where you're going to get the information from to be able to make those changes. So first of all, I want you to notice the fact that we talk about the electives as running on lines. So line 1 is where half of the electives are going to run, and then we've got another 10 subjects or electives that run on line 2. On your counselling report, if you don't see mention of a particular elective, it's because you weren't interested in that elective and that elective is full. Okay, so with the information that's on here, we can see that this student has been allocated food tech on line 1 because that's highlighted in black, and on line 2, this student has been allocated PASS, or physical activity and sports studies. Now, say for example, this student would like to change line 1 and no longer wants to do food tech, then the subjects that are listed here that still have space available on line 1, they're the only courses that this student could move to. So you'll notice commerce, for example, there are 2 classes, one has 2 spaces, the other one has 3. If you can't see a course listed, or if it has 0 places left in it, you can't move into that course because there are 0 places left. So there is still an opportunity for you to change your electives for next year, and I'll talk you through that process, but you can only change the classes where there are spaces available. So how can you make changes to your subjects for next year? You need to go to Student Services and collect a change of subject form, and it looks like the one that's on the screen at the moment, or you can go onto the college website and under the click on forms, and you can download and print a change of subject form from our school website. You need to put your name, your year group, and your homeroom on the form, and I want you to indicate, under the heading that says subject leaving, I want you to write the subject you're leaving and the line that it's on, and then what subject would you like to enter, and then the line that's on underneath it. You are not required to get a classroom teacher's signature on this form because you don't know who the teachers are for those elective courses for next year. You only need to fill out those top 2 boxes of the subject selection form. This is the same form we use for our Year 11, 12 and 12 students, and there's information on here that you're not required to complete. Can you also outline the reasons for you wanting to leave or change that subject? And then you'll notice the very last box has parent name and parent signature. We need your parents to be part of this process, so your parents will need to write their name and sign and date it so that we know they've been a part of this process if you want to make a change to your subjects. Once you've got your parent signature on it and the form's complete, then you can return it to the note box in Student Services. They'll stamp it and timestamp it and write the date on it, and then they'll bring those forms to me for processing, and then I can begin to change those subjects for you. If you want to change to a class that hasn't got any space in it, you'll need to submit a change of subject form, and there'll be a waiting list created for those classes with no spaces. Please be aware that space might not ever become available, and if no space becomes available for those courses that you want to get into, then the current electives that you've been allocated will be what you will start Year 9 with at the beginning of 2021. So some students may need to see me at the end of this presentation. So can you please go to the quad if your counselling report states that you've got less than 4 units? That means you need to find another elective. Or if you did not receive a counselling report, can you please come to the quad and we can sort these issues out. You do not need to come down to the quad now if you want to change the courses that you've been allocated. Can you please follow the process that was outlined on the previous slides and complete a change of subject form? Thanks so much, Year 8 and pastoral teachers.